Live from Augusta, we're watching News 1226 this morning.
Just ahead, we're learning more about the Homestead Exemption Act. Your I-Team has an update about a man who's been arrested after showing up all over social media. Plus, Georgia's prisons may be getting a reform. But first, giving you a live look right now at Beach Island. It is 6 o'clock on your Saturday. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Ashley Campbell. Sending it straight to Chris Still. Chris, we had some winter weather yesterday. A lot of people enjoying it. What are we going to see today?
Yeah, it started off cute and fun yesterday, and then the freezing rain started, and it wasn't so cute, especially up there in Washington and Lincoln County, where we ended up having some power outages and some ice. But early on, what a wintry scene and even a fun scene it was for a little whiskey here with his shoes on. Got to protect the paws when you're out in the snow like that. But officially in Augusta, we ended up with 1 inch of snow, which is what the snow event will go down in history as officially in Augusta. But now temperatures have risen to above freezing, so that ice we have up there to the north across Tolliver and Wilkes County over into Lincoln and McCormick County up into Saluda County, that is going to be melting away. But we do still have the winter weather advisory technically in effect for another hour or so, but things are improving across the forecast in just a bit.
All right, our viewers do not disappoint, sending in these pictures. You know, we don't get a lot of snow and sleet that often, so when we do, we love to see all of you guys enjoying it. A lot of pictures there. Look at that little snowman, Chris. So cute.
It's a snow kid.
I know. Look at the smiles on their faces. McKenna, she had no idea what to think of the snow because, I mean, she's 7, but she wasn't really, she didn't remember the last time we got a lot of snow like that. So anyways, thank you for sending those in. We do have more that we're going to get to a little bit later in our newscast. Columbia County leaders are looking at a measure that voters approved. Back is for that, Julius. For the first time in more than 2 decades, Aiken County has a new sheriff. You're taking a look at Sheriff Marty Sawyer taking his oath of office. He's replaced Michael Hunt, who decided to retire. We spoke with Sheriff Sawyer about his goals for the new year. He tells us plans are already in the works, one of them making his employees a top priority. He says they need to be treated well so they can better serve the county.
There's a bunch of good men and women over there, a bunch of men and women that want to serve the citizens of Aiken County, and I'm going to give them that opportunity to do it.
Other plans include putting printers in patrol cars so deputies don't have to write tickets, also more presence in rural parts of the county. Take a look, the Kroger in Martinez cutting the ribbon after 6 months of renovations. This is in the Merchant Village Shopping Center. The store manager explains some of those new upgrades.
Took out some of those slow-moving items and introduced new items for our customers to purchase. We also got a new sushi bar, hot bar, entirely new bakery, produce department, and brand new fresh restrooms.
The renovation represents a $1.5 million capital investment. 20 years ago will never be forgotten in Graniteville. Monday marking the day 2 Norfolk Southern trains collided near the Avondale Mills plant while many were asleep. That crash causing a tanker car to release more than 160,000 pounds of chlorine into the air, killing 9 people. 250 people were treated for toxic chlorine exposure. One local man shared what it took to get that treatment 2 decades ago.
So we did the breathing treatments and we went through all that. We went over to the hospital that night, and a few of us got scrubbed down because they thought we might be contaminated. Some are still worried about the effects of the chlorine.
And memorial stands today, as you saw there, honoring people who lost their lives or were affected by that tragedy. More charges could be coming for a man currently in jail charged with 2 counts of felony public indecency. Richmond County deputies arrested 58-year-old Timothy Marcus after social media posts showed him allegedly exposing himself. Investigators are asking for anyone with more pictures or video to reach out to them. Your I-Team's Meredith Anderson uncovered that he is no stranger to this type of behavior.
No, he's not. He is a registered.
And Radar Network still showing a little bit of drizzle possible across southeastern portions of the viewing area. Jenkins, Screven County. It's all liquid this morning. Temperatures are finally well above freezing. Sunshine returns for the weekend, but warm weather does not. We'll have the latest on your very cold weekend forecast when we come back.
As we head to break, here are some events for you that it should be taking place this weekend at 6:12.
I got to know Austin when he was a student. I just remember that he was just an upstanding young man, very respectful. When I had my car accident, I thought to myself, I'm going to call Austin Jackson.
As we sit here today, I'm thrilled to hear that you're feeling much better. That's how I want to see people in the end. They're back to the way they were before the wreck happened. I'm so glad you called us, and it's a privilege to be able to pay back the people who've helped shape me.
RockAuto.com.
Students at Appalachia High School did not go to class Thursday after another student brought a gun to school the day before. All of this happening 2 days after parents and students demanded better security at the school board meeting. This also comes after that deadly shooting on campus 4 months ago. Parents and students say there was no lockdown during Wednesday's incident, raising even more safety concerns.
As we see today, a kid got in the school with a gun and felt confident in doing so. We're doing nothing to deter the kids that want to do the bad things from doing the bad things.
The 14-year-old boy who brought the gun on campus now faces several charges, including possession of a weapon on school grounds and theft. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is calling on lawmakers to fix the state's prison system. Nearly $375 million could be added to this year's budget to help with that. Abby Kasouris explains from Atlanta.
The announcement today fairly unusual. We typically see lawmakers discuss big budget changes after the legislative session begins. The governor taking this issue into his own hands, hiring a consulting firm in the spring, which came up with the suggestions discussed today. In October, the Department of Justice released this report, calling the conditions in Georgia prisons horrific. The 93-page report details the dangers causing inmates to die at alarmingly high rates. For months, lawmakers studied the problems plaguing Georgia's prisons.
Well, this has been studied, and I think it's time to get something done.
Georgia's prison system is one of the largest in the country. 47,000 inmates, 9,000 employees, nearly 1 employee for every 5 inmates. The governor's proposal, $372 million, with dozens of line items, including hiring 300 correctional officers, building additional facilities, adding 400 private beds to keep inmates in separate cells, forming a statewide repair team to fix deteriorating facilities.
Make sure that we're making wise investments with taxpayer dollars. I want to make investments. I want to make sure they're wise.
Senate Appropriations Chairman Blake Tillery says cell phones are a major driver of illegal activity. Attorney General Chris Carr called on the Federal Communications Commission to allow for the use of cell phone jamming devices within state prisons and local jails. They're prohibited in most prisons.
Prisons are for rehabilitation and corrections, not for social media stardom.
These are just recommendations. Lawmakers will decide how much funding the Department of Corrections will receive, and the governor will ultimately sign the budget. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasouris.
Could South Carolina move to privatize its school bus fleet? It is on the table as lawmakers get set to return to Columbia for the 2025 session. A pre-filed bill in the House would put school bus operations into the hands of individual school districts or private carriers instead of the State Department of Education. The state also wouldn't be responsible for employment, pay, vehicle operations, or training programs. The argument is that it could reduce the number of bus-related incidents and improve conditions for students and staff on board.
A lot of these buses are malfunctioning. When you look into the maintenance pool, they are unsatisfied employees. And one thing that stands out all the time, that they're just not being paid enough.
This is the third time this bill will attempt to make it through the House, if failed in part because of fears that privatizing buses could lead to unionization. There we go. I got it. Lawmakers do return to Columbia on the 14th. Man.
That's why you never hear me say my job title, meteorologist. Yes, indeed.
It's like I know how to say it. It looks different on the prompter, and then you get tongue-tied.
I hear you. That word's about a mile long. Takes up about 3 lines in the teleprompter. But
unionization.
The wind today may give you trouble if you're out and about. A west wind today, 12 to 17. It's going to gust up around 25. Cold day at the lake. High temperature up that way around 43. But at least the ice is melting. We'll have more on your very cold weekend forecast when we come back.
My moderate to severe crime.
We all hope for a world of longer, healthier lives. To overcome today's biggest health challenges and accelerate that future, each of us needs to be part of the progress. Together, we can be a relentless force for building longer, healthier lives in the CSRA. Join News 1226 and the American Heart Association on Friday, February 7th for the 2025 CSRA Heart Ball. Reserve your seats today at heart.org/CSRA Heart Ball.
This is the latest system we're watching heading straight towards the southeast. Expect to see heavy showers and thunderstorms, and
we've issued a first alert for all of our counties here in the CSRA, and that's for the chance of a strong.
We are tracking a strong line of thunderstorms heading directly towards central Georgia.
You can see right here, no one being spared from this first alert for today. You do have the threat.
The First Alert Radar Network. All the sweeps are working here, keeping every neighborhood covered.
The Wilson family has been heating and cooling homes since 1954. Technology has changed, but the work ethic and customer service remain the same. Turn to the experts at D&M Heating and Air, your Carrier factory authorized dealer.
We're only comfortable when you are.
Live from Augusta, you're watching News 1226 this morning.
Just ahead, your I-team investigating where your stormwater fees are going. Plus, a new law over the lock and dam was signed this week. And we're learning more about a new program in South Carolina private schools. But first, giving you a live look right now at Grovetown at I-20. It's 6:30 on your Saturday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Campbell. Turning things over to Chris now. Chris, did you have a chance to play in the snow and sleet yesterday?
Absolutely, I did. The snow fell not during my shift, so I took advantage of it. I certainly did. Of course, we've the whole weather team has worked through the storm together, but we have to spread the load, and my load happened not during the fun part of the storm. So, yeah, my son and I, we played a little game of football out in the snow, pretended.
Oh, cool. Glad
every kid's dream of playing in that snowy Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. See, practice.
Absolutely.
Got some practice in.
All right. Well, a lot of folks had fun.
Engineering's last work order for Sherrill Drive was in August when a city worker expressed concerns that the road may collapse if they clean the storm drain. Could the town of Wagner be separated from the fire department? That's the decision in the hands of Aiken County Council after a unanimous vote by Wagner Town Council in favor of that move. The decision comes after the former fire chief resigned from his position, along with nearly 24 firefighters back in November. The Aiken County Council previously voted to terminate that contract. Aiken County Council will meet January the 21st to approve the ordinance. 2 suspects have been arrested in connection to a homicide on Walker Street this week. Deputies say Damian Key and Trayvon Cummings turned themselves in for the shooting death of 29-year-old Katori McBride. McBride died in that shooting on Tuesday. For years now, the new Savannah Bluff Lock and Dam has been at the center of attention. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers wanted to get rid of the dam and add a different kind of structure to protect fish. But state lawmakers disagreed, saying maintaining a water level of 114.5 feet is the #1 priority. But there was a major development last weekend. Your Hallie Turner has the latest.
Yeah, well, it all happened on Saturday in Washington when President Biden signed the Thomas R. Carper Water Resources Development Act of 2024 into law after years of fighting with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The lock and dam is here to stay. The tug of war, known as the Savannah Bluff Lock and Dam Project, is back in the political spotlight once again, but this time with a clear winner. President Biden's signature on the bill paves the way for the aging structure to be fully repaired and requires the pool level to be maintained at its current level. In a statement, Georgia Congressman Rick Allen says any option that results in a significant drop in the water level was a non-starter for local businesses, homeowners, and families. He believes preserving the structure will be beneficial. And South Carolina Congressman Joe Wilson says the Army Corps' plan to tear down the structure would have been detrimental to the community. But not everyone is celebrating this solution to a decades-old battle.
No is the answer. I also don't think a 1936 structure is the way to move forward. We're not driving cars from the 1936. We now know exactly what we knew in 1989, which is that the structure has to stay. We know that fish have to get past here. And we know it's a very expensive proposal.
Riverkeeper Tanya Bonatadovas agrees the structure needs repairs, but she has a lot of questions.
One, who's going to pay for that? And then number two is what happens with the outstanding lawsuits.
The new law says the Georgia Ports Authority picks up the tab, but only the amount in a report from 2012. So while the legal battle is over, the budget battle may just be getting started.
I just hope that we do it in a way that actually gives the normal person a chance to engage with the river.
And the other big question is what happens next? Congressman Allen's office says it begins with a meeting with representatives from the Corps to talk about repairs, and they will decide how they can best move forward when it comes to a price tag.
And we still have some ice up in the trees up here in Wilkes County down into Tolliver County. So winter storm warning until 7 a.m., but things are improving. Temperatures above freezing. Winter weather advisory for northern portions of the CSRA will be expiring at 7 o'clock as well. The weekend is cold and sunny. We'll let you know if any more rains head our way for the week ahead and the full forecast coming up.
And as we head to break, we've got some events for you this weekend. South Carolina Republicans are in a hurry trying to restore a controversial education program. They're responding to a state Supreme Court ruling from September that struck down the key part of the Education Scholarship Trust Fund program. That's also known as the Private School Voucher Program. State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
Republicans want to find a way to reinstate a program allowing certain families to spend public dollars on private school tuition. That can also withstand a court challenge. A bill some believe can do that will very likely be the first legislation up for debate here at the State House this year. The earlier version of this Education Scholarship Trust Fund program was paid for through the state's general fund, which the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled was in violation of the state's constitutional ban on public dollars directly benefiting private schools. So Republican senators are proposing the money for this new program comes from lottery revenue. Lottery dollars currently pay for existing college scholarship programs like Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellows, which can be used at private colleges.
Why do I think this will be constitutional? Because the Supreme Court has told us it's going to be constitutional.
But some Democrats are skeptical this would pass court muster, as any new voucher program is just about certain to be hit with another lawsuit.
The bigger picture is it remains unconstitutional, and I don't know how we're going to get around that. We know it's going to be challenged. And I'd love to hear your idea on how lottery dollars are not public dollars. It just seems to me that they clearly are.
Lawmakers will gavel in to begin their new legislative session here next Tuesday. And by later that first week, Republicans hope to have this bill ready for a debate on the Senate floor. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
This new bill would make a few other changes to the earlier voucher program. That would include raising the income threshold for eligible families up to 600% of the federal poverty level, which is about $187,000 annually for a family of four. Companies are scrambling for backup plans as another Georgia port strike looms on the horizon. Negotiations continue between the Dock Workers Union and the group representing cargo carriers as the two sides work on a new labor contract. The deadline to get this done, only 4 days away. You may remember those picket lines back in October when a 3-day strike brought ports on the East and Gulf Coast to a standstill. That ended after the two unions agreed to a 90-day extension and resolved issues over worker pay. Now the main sticking point appears to be about worker protection from automation at ports. Before then, companies are looking at alternatives if that strike happens.
General vibe in the industry is that a work stoppage is probably likely at this point in time. Electronics, car parts, many things that we dealt with during the pandemic, right, that we saw shortages on that are imported, we'll start seeing similar impacts, certainly not to a pandemic level.
The Georgia Ports Authority, which oversees operations at the Port of Savannah, is not directly involved in those talks.
And things are starting to improve out there on the roads. Here's a look at your travel forecast. No major delays around the country in any of the airports, including Atlanta, where they had a snowstorm just like we did. In fact, they got a little more than we did. Sunshine returns in Atlanta. Temperatures around 45, but if you are traveling on I-20 over that way, you are going to want to be careful, especially early on this morning. We'll have a look at your travel forecast when we come back.